While the majority of individuals instinctively seek refuge and plead for protection when confronted with turbulent events, the Sigma male adopts a completely different posture. He does not cower or seek shelter. Instead, he uses the opportunity to hone his instruments and fortify his resolve. Historical patterns reveal a consistent truth, whether observing financial downturns or the fall of great civilizations. The ultimate prize of continued existence is not awarded to those who make the most noise, possess the greatest riches, or even exhibit the most physical power. It is secured by those capable of swift evolution and those who master the art of moving through upheaval unseen and unremarked upon. The Sigma male is not crafted for a life of ease and predictability. His fundamental architecture is optimized for navigating tumult. As the general populace desperately clings to familiar patterns like infants holding on to shattered playthings, he traverses disarray with the natural ease of one moving through their native environment. Consequently, he does not merely scrape by during catastrophes. He frequently comes out the other side more acute, more composed, and occasionally even entertained by the spectacle of others believing the apocalypse had arrived. This is not a trite narrative about the ruggedness of a solitary predator. It concerns a distinct variety of individual whose core psychological framework renders him impervious when the structures of society give way. Our focus now turns to deconstructing the mental processes that explain why Sigma males do not simply endure emergencies while others flail in desperation. They actively flourish within them. 1. Internal generators of engagement. The average man often begins to unravel precisely when his daily structures and habits disintegrate. In moments when the world grinds to a halt, when the constant buzz of communal life falls silent, and when external diversions vanish, he finds himself unable to endure his own company. The quiet becomes a corrosive force. The Sigma male, however, is engineered otherwise. His consciousness produces its own energy and intrigue. He is not dependent on external circumstances for intellectual or emotional fuel. He transports his own source of engagement wherever he goes. This intrinsic capability is why, during periods of emergency, when others are driven to distraction by monotony or shattered by seclusion, the Sigma maintains his equilibrium and, at times, even prospers. He immerses himself in endeavors the wider world may deem worthless. Penning thoughts, deconstructing complex concepts, acquiring obscure competences purely to test the limits of his own intellect. He does not require external validation to ascribe value to his pursuits. This internal motivation transforms a crisis from a punitive ordeal into a spacious arena for personal development. As the world anesthetizes itself with anxiety, longing for return to the status quo, he quietly constructs, acquires knowledge, and refines his capabilities. By the time the situation stabilizes, he has ascended to a higher level while others have diminished. This is not merely about output, it is about psychological fortitude. The Sigma treats solitude as a confidant, not a foe. Where most conflate aloneness with loneliness, he actually derives vitality from isolation. Hence, external pandemonium never leaves him exposed or depleted. The very circumstances that fracture ordinary men, the quiet, the absence of diversion, become the fertile ground where he discovers serenity. This is survival operating on a cognitive plane, and it is exceedingly uncommon. In a pointed irony, while society agonizes over having an empty schedule, the Sigma is privately amused. His mind is already a complete cosmos of intellectual trials, conceptual explorations, and personal triumphs. This is his concealed edge. He does not simply maintain his integrity, he grows more incisive as others decay. In a crisis, endurance is not always about raw power or accumulated goods. Sometimes, it is about who can bear the company of their own thoughts without requiring the world to constantly entertain them. Therefore, the Sigma male capacity to generate his own engagement is far more than an idiosyncrasy. It is among his most potent tools for survival. 2. Interpreting crisis as recalibration, not ruination. For most, a crisis feels like a profound betrayal, as though life itself has become adversarial. Collapse is equated with personal defeat. The Sigma male perceives it through an alternate lens. He regards every crisis as an act of rebalancing, a universal reset that unmasks weaknesses, faucets, and unsustainable systems that were always present. When institutions fail, when routines disintegrate, when facades crack, he does not lament what has been lost. He focuses intently on what has been laid bare. To him, Crisis is not synonymous with destruction, it is synonymous with lucidity. This is where the Sigma diverges radically from the pack. Most men cling to comforts even when those comforts are insidiously eroding them. They maintain draining occupations, stifling personal connections, and exploitative frameworks simply because they provided a mirage of security. The Sigma does not fall into this trap. He understands that stability is often merely a gilded cage. When it shatters, he does not grieve for the broken bars. He analyzes a newly opened space. This viewpoint renders him almost immovable because his sense of security was never anchored in those illusions to begin with. A crisis represents opportunity to him, not due to a lack of empathy, but because collapse pares reality down to its essential truths. While everyone else is seized by panic, desperate to resurrect normal, he is already mapping the new landscape, identifying openings, and advancing with a boldness others cannot muster. While the herd awaits instruction, the Sigma is already establishing a fresh foundation before the particulate matter has settled. What makes this mentality formidable is his calm disengagement. He does not operate on naive hope or blind positivity. He comprehends that destruction and creation are two sides of the same process, and he is adept at navigating both. While others lose their bearings when the systems they relied upon crumble, the Sigma adapts instantaneously because his identity was never fettered to them. This is the root of his survival. To him, crisis is not a terminus. It is a filter, sifting out the frail, exposing the fraudulent, and clearing the terrain for the resilient. Where others perceive only catastrophe, he sees raw potential. This fundamental shift in perception is what permits him not only to withstand the storm, but to emerge from it more formidable than before. 3. Constructing unseen contingency systems. The majority of people dedicate their lives to demonstrating their security. They display their wealth, real estate, social networks, and professional titles, convinced these trophies will shield them when disaster strikes. The Sigma male operates by a different code. His safety nets are not loud, ostentatious, or designed for public admiration. They are invisible, assembled in silence, concealed in overlooked places, and composed of assets that cannot be stripped from him when the superficial world collapses. The Sigma invests in competences because skills cannot be stolen or devalued in a single day. While others rely on fragile systems to affirm their worth, he sharpens abilities that retain utility in any environment. If currency becomes, skill still facilitates survival. If structures tumble, knowledge still commands regard. He never boasts about these tools. He refines them quietly, confident that one day they will demonstrate their worth more eloquently than wealth ever could. Then there are his alliances, few in number, meticulously selected, and intentionally kept from public view. The Sigma does not require a multitude. He needs a select few high-value connections that outsiders will never detect. These bonds are not formed through superficial networking or desperate agreements. They are tempered through loyalty, mutual trust, and shared understanding. When chaos obliterates casual friendships, these quiet alliances become invaluable lifelines. Finally, there are the unseen resources, not always physical or financial, but strategic contingency plans, hidden reserves, alternative pathways, and untraceable options never disclosed online or in casual discourse. These reserves prove their worth only when circumstances deteriorate. When the glossy assets everyone flaunted suddenly turn to ash, the Sigma's preparations become apparent. The power of his safety net lies in its invisibility. No one can covet what they cannot see. No one can undermine what they do not know exists. By the time others recognize the extent of his preparedness, he is already far ahead, composed, collected, and beyond reach. This is the Sigma's quiet brilliance. He does not prepare for crisis to appear robust. He prepares for crisis because strength is meaningless if everyone knows exactly where it is stored. 4. Viewing stability as a transient illusion. Most men cling to the fantasy of stability as if it were a natural law. They persuade themselves that employment will always provide income, governments will always operate, and relationships will always endure so long as they follow the prescribed rules. When the foundation gives way beneath them, however, panic ensues. Their entire existence was constructed on the illusion that normality was permanent. The Sigma never makes this error. He knows every system, regardless of how imposing it appears, rests on precarious foundations. To him, Stability is not real. It is a temporary arrangement with a definite expiration date. This awareness transforms everything. He never assumes the ground beneath his feet is solid, so he is never caught off guard when it fractures. A market crash, a personal betrayal, a sudden societal collapse. These events shock the masses but merely confirm what he already understood. Nothing is perpetual. This mindset provides him with a steady hand when the world unravels. While others freeze in disbelief, he adjusts immediately. He does not hoard supplies or fixate on apocalyptic fantasies. Instead, he builds himself to be pliable. If one route closes, he takes another. If a system falls, he expends no energy mourning it. He is already operating within the new reality. The average man seeks to protect stability. The Sigma treats stability as a temporary blessing. He enjoys it while it lasts but never mistakes it for a guarantee. His genuine security stems from his capacity to pivot, not from pretending permanence exists. To outsiders, this outlook may appear cynical, but it is precisely why he thrives in chaos. While the herd screams, "How could this happen?" the Sigma moves forward unshaken because he never believed stability was permanent in the first place. For him, fragility is a natural state of affairs. Once you accept that truth, nothing can truly surprise you. 5. Finding ease within discomfort. Most men deteriorate the moment they are pushed beyond the comforting sphere of social belonging. Experiencing exclusion, being overlooked, or feeling misunderstood registers as punishment because their sense of worth is contingent upon external approval. Sigma males, however, have spent their entire lives on the periphery, often misjudged or underestimated, and it did not break them, it tempered them. That existence as an outsider became their natural armor. Consequently, when a crisis strips away comfort and forces everyone into isolation, the Sigma is already standing on familiar ground. He does not treat discomfort as something to escape at any cost. To him, it is part of life's terrain. Resting within uncertainty, navigating rejection, existing without a claim. These are conditions he mastered long before disaster made them compulsory. For most, losing social validation feels like exile. For him, it feels routine. This is why he does not spiral when circumstances become grim. He is fluent in the language of discomfort, and that fluency renders him more robust than those who only thrive under easy conditions. What appears as suffering to others often becomes his training ground. He can think while others panic. He can act while others are paralyzed. He can adapt without requiring applause or reassurance. The profound irony is that the very trait society may have mocked, being distant, detached, hard to read, becomes a survival advantage when the world destabilizes. While everyone else wastes energy clinging to comfort, the Sigma directs his energy toward engaging with reality itself. Crisis does not crush him. It merely expands a battlefield he has always been prepared to inhabit. 6. Immunity to collective hysteria. Fear propagates more rapidly than reason. In disasters, one person's panic infects another, and soon the crowd moves as a single hysterical entity. Most men are consumed whole because they are wired to seek safety in numbers. Sigma males are constructed differently. They do not inhale collective fear because they have never breathed the same social atmosphere as a herd. Their detachment functions as a shield. They do not need to gauge the crowd's reaction before determining their own course of action. This independence disrupts the emotional feedback loop that fuels mass panic. This does not imply they are fearless. A Sigma recognizes fear. It is a survival tool. But he processes it internally, measures it against observable reality, and acts with precision. While others are drowning in hysteria, his actions remain sharp, clean, and effective. What the herd interprets as coldness is actually discipline. Here is the crucial twist. Group fear renders people predictable. Once panic takes hold, crowds stampede in obvious directions. The Sigma, immune to that magnetic pull, moves against the current, discovering opportunities others trample in their blind flight. His detachment does not merely protect him, it provides him with leverage. When the world trembles and masses spiral into chaos, the Sigma remains untouched. He does not get swept away by the emotional tide. He stands firm, calm, and immovable while everyone else is carried off by the flood. 7. Possessing a non-fragile core identity. Identity is the most significant trap into which most men walk. They construct their entire sense of self upon titles, careers, and external validation. The executive defines himself by his rank. The influencer clings to his follow account. The celebrity subsists on applause. It feels unassailable until a crisis tears it away. Suddenly, the executive is unemployed, the influencer is irrelevant, and the celebrity is forgotten. What they believe constituted their very being vanishes overnight, leaving them fractured and scrambling to assemble another mask. The Sigma male does not fall into this trap. He never mistakes society's assigned role for his essence. He can perform roles if he chooses: leader, creator, partner, superior, but he wears them like garments he can remove at will. His self is not built upon fragile costumes. Therefore, when the system collapses and those roles burn away, he is not exposed. He remains intact because his identity was never borrowed. This is a monumental survival advantage. In crisis, most men waste precious energy clinging to what is gone, mourning identities that no longer exist. The Sigma pivots instead. Since his worth was never tied to applause or recognition, he adapts without a protracted period of grief. This fluidity allows him to move faster, with fewer encumbrances, and with far less emotional baggage than those experiencing identity collapse. To others, this detachment appears cold, even perilous. They cannot comprehend how he remains whole while their worlds disintegrate. But the truth is simple. They never constructed a core identity robust enough to survive without masks, while the Sigma always did. His identity is internal, unshaken by the external world. That is why he does not merely endure crisis. He moves through it without losing himself. Where others watch their self-image burn, the Sigma remains the same grounded individual he has always been. 8. Surgical elimination of detrimental burdens. Most men sabotage themselves during a crisis by refusing to sever ties with what holds them back. They cling to draining relationships, carry allies who contribute only chaos, and protect bonds that should have ended long ago. They confuse obligation with strength, or they fear solitude more than they fear sinking. The Sigma does not share this weakness. Under pressure, he severs liabilities with surgical precision, no hesitation, no guilt, because he knows survival demands clarity, not sentimentality. This ruthlessness is not cruelty, it is discipline. He understands that in a crisis, resources are scarce, and every ounce expended on a toxic attachment steals from his own capacity for growth and survival. He does not transform his life into a charity for the ungrateful or incompetent. If someone proves parasitic, he does not retain them hoping for change. He makes a cut cleanly, even if outsiders label it heartless. This brutal selectivity is precisely what keeps him agile while others drown, chained to people they are too weak to release. He does not glorify shared suffering or mistake blind loyalty for strength. He knows the wrong ally can be more dangerous than an outright enemy. While others drag behind them anchors disguised as companions, the Sigma is already moving forward unencumbered. Ironically, the same people who call him cold often admire him later, realizing too late that his pruning was not cruelty but survival. It is why he does not just endure crisis. He emerges sharper, stronger, and surrounded only by allies who have earned their place. The Sigma's ruthlessness is not a flaw, it is his insurance policy. He is not present to sink with dead weight or to coddle those who refuse to grow. He is here to survive, adapt, and thrive. And he knows one truth most men cannot face. If you do not cut the wrong people loose in a crisis, they will drag you under with them. 9. Subordinating ego to pragmatic function. Ego obliterates most men in a crisis. The archetypal alpha, for instance, is addicted to preeminence. The moment he loses his perceived throne, he collapses because his identity was constructed upon dominance. He clings to pride even if it drags him under. The Sigma does not share this flaw. He discards ego the instant it becomes dead weight. If he needs to lead, he leads. If he needs to operate in the background, he does so. If he needs to assume a role others would consider beneath them, he does it without hesitation, because he knows that roles do not define him, outcomes do. This flexibility makes him formidable in a crisis. He moves into spaces that pride-bound men refuse to touch. What looks like a step backward to others is often a calculated repositioning for him. He does not waste energy protecting an image, he protects progress. He scales down without shame, rebuilds without applause, and advances unseen while others cling to crumbling crowns. To outsiders, this ego-free adaptability may resemble weakness. In reality, it is profound strength. It requires fortitude to shed armor and act without pride. The Sigma understands that clinging to ego during collapse is like gripping a burning rope. You end up destroyed by the very thing you refuse to release. That is why Crisis does not crush him. He has no throne to defend. He has ground to gain, and he will take it from any position necessary. In a world where pride keeps men chained, the Sigma's ego-free adaptability renders him nearly unbreakable. 10. Anticipating collapse as an inherent feature of systems. Most men live as though the structure surrounding them will endure forever. They treat governments, corporations, and cultural trends as immutable monuments. That is why collapse always feels like a betrayal, an incomprehensible shock. The Sigma does not inhabit that illusion. He views every empire, economy, and trend as temporary. Collapse is not an accident. It is woven into the very design. This perspective changes everything. He utilizes systems, but he never venerates them. He can work within corporations, participate in markets, or engage with social trends, but a part of him always remains detached, prepared for their inevitable decline. This anticipation renders him untouchable. When collapse arrives, he is not blindsided. He is already several steps ahead. He does not waste time grieving. To him, decay is natural, a cycle that clears space for new growth. While others panic, he moves with an eerie calm. The difference is strategic. Because he expects collapse, he positions himself to benefit from it. He does not merely survive the wreckage. He thrives, leveraging the groundwork he laid while others were still in denial. Where the herd cries, "How could this happen?" the Sigma simply nods. Right on time. That is why Crisis never destabilizes him. It confirms what he has always known, that only the adaptable survive. While most men cling to illusions, the Sigma builds with minimal attachment, lives with independence, and sharpens himself in silence. When disaster comes, he recalibrates, rebuilds, and often rises stronger. He proves a simple, powerful truth. The individual who needs a lease from the world cannot be broken by it. He is not waiting for stability to return. He is already moving within the ruins, transforming chaos into his natural element. And when the storm finally clears, he is not the one crawling back to what was normal. He is the one standing there, calmer, sharper, untouchable. Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly, and your perspective, whether you identify with it personally or have encountered it in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know. Which part hit home the most for you? Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living, there's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise.